RIMURU Go Back in Time by Rimu-chi. Plan for Belzard. A week after Walpurgis. The bustling streets of Tempest were alive with energy, a testament to the unity and prosperity of its people. Monsters and humans walked side by side, exchanging greetings and working in harmony. The city was a vibrant blend of cultures, with colorful banners draped across streets, marketplaces brimming with goods, and laughter echoing through the air. At the heart of Tempest stood a majestic white castle, a grand structure that radiated elegance and power. Its walls gleamed like polished marble, reflecting the sunlight with a soft glow. Intricate carvings adorned its surface, depicting Tempest's history and triumphs. The towering spires reached high into the sky, capped with crystalline blue tips that shimmered with a magical aura. Inside, the castle was as grand as its exterior, with wide hallways, marble floors, and walls lined with ornate tapestries. In the heart of the castle, Rimuru's office was a blend of luxury and comfort. The room was spacious, with a large desk at the center, surrounded by shelves filled with neatly arranged documents and magical artifacts. Soft carpets covered the floor, and the walls were painted in calming shades of blue and white. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting a warm glow across the room. Rimuru sat comfortably on his plush chair, his usual workload of paperwork now stacked neatly on his desk. For once, he was enjoying a moment of peace. To his sides, Irina Tempest and Kumara Tempest, his younger sisters, were playfully tugging at his hair. Irina, ever the playful one, grinned as she twisted his hair into small braids, while Kumara giggled, adding her own artistic touches. Around them were Rimuru's fiancés, each occupying their space with an air of grace and camaraderie. Shizu sat nearby, smiling softly as she observed the scene, her presence calm and reassuring. Rain, sitting on the couch, watched with amusement while flipping through a book. Kaguli and Myorn were engaged in quiet conversation, occasionally casting knowing glances at Rimuru. Not all of Rimuru's fiancés were present. Shuna was in her workshop, crafting new clothes for Rimuru with meticulous care. Shion, meanwhile, was busy training her unit, her dedication to her role unwavering. Elsewhere, Gobwa and Goblina assisted others with the daily tasks of maintaining the castle, while Tis was currently teaching the children in the city. Adding to the scene was Belzard, the white ice dragon and the second of the true dragons. And her maid Misery, Belzard leaned against the wall, her gaze fixed on Rimuru. Her expression, uncharacteristically soft, betrayed a faint blush on her cheeks, though she tried to maintain her composed demeanor. As for Rimuru, he leaned back in his chair, letting out a content sigh. Finally, a bit of peace, he murmured, enjoying the rare moment of relaxation. His only hope was that no one would interrupt with another mountain of paperwork. The playful atmosphere in the office shifted subtly when Shizu turned her attention to Belzard, who had been quietly standing nearby. Belzard-chan, Shizu called out gently, drawing the white ice dragon's attention. Is there anything you need? Belzard, caught off guard by Shizu's sudden attention, blinked before quickly shaking her head. Actually, no, but thank you for asking, she replied, her tone betraying a hint of unease. Shizu simply nodded, accepting her response, but the moment of interaction didn't go unnoticed by the others in the room. Rain, Kaguli, and Myorn exchanged glances, having noticed the subtle blush on Belzard's face. The realization seemed to dawn on them all at once, and they moved closer to Shizu, leaning in to whisper amongst themselves. Is Belzard-sama blushing? Rain asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Myorn gave a thoughtful glance toward Belzard, who was trying her best to appear unaffected by the conversation, and then turned back to the group. Looks like it, she responded with a knowing smile. Kaguli, ever the perceptive one, raised an eyebrow. Could it be that she has feelings for Rimuru-sama? Shizu, watching Belzard closely, nodded in agreement. It's clear she likes Rimuru-san. Remember when she arrived at Tempest with him after Walpurgis? Myorn thought for a moment, recalling the events. Yeah, I remember. When Rimuru-sama casually mentioned that he had 9 fiancés and 1 wife, her expression darkened. Exactly, Shizu said with a small, understanding smile. She was clearly jealous. It's written all over her face. The 4 of them exchanged looks, and after a brief pause, Shizu asked, what do you think? Should we help her express how she feels about Rimuru? Rain, eager to support their friend, nodded enthusiastically. That would be good. Myorn hesitated for a moment, thinking deeply. But isn't it our role as his fiancés to protect him from other women? He's going to be our husband, after all. Kaguli tilted her head, clearly puzzled. What do you mean? I mean, Myorn explained with a shrug, we're all supposed to be with him, right? So, should we really encourage someone else to get close to him? The question lingered in the air, and the group fell silent for a few moments, each person reflecting on Myorn's point. Finally, Shizu spoke, her voice calm and thoughtful. That's true, but Rimuru-san deserves to be surrounded by love, don't you think? Besides, if Belzard-chan truly has feelings for him, we should help her. It's only right. Rain and Kaguli nodded in agreement. Myorn, after some thought, sighed. Well then, let's do what we can. If she really cares about Rimuru-sama, she deserves a chance. The women shared a knowing look before silently agreeing to proceed with their plan. They would wait for the right moment, ready to help Belzard express her feelings when the time was right, all the while ensuring that their bond with Rimuru remained strong. As Rimuru relaxed in his office, a familiar voice echoed in his mind. Informer, the skill created by his first wife, Seal, spoke up. Master, Lady Ciel's project is 56% complete. Rimuru's eyes widened in surprise. Wow, she's already finished over half. She told me it would take at least 5 or 6 months. That's impressive. But I guess it's Ciel we're talking about. Is there anything else? Yes, Master. There are also 2 creations that Lady Ciel wishes for you to test. Rimuru leaned forward, intrigued. Wait, 2 creations. What are they? The first is an ultimate skill. Primal, Arch-Eden. Hearing the name alone, Rimuru's jaw almost dropped. What the, that sounds insane. Leave it to Ciel to come up with something like that. So, what can I do with this skill? Informer's tone remained steady as it explained. Primordial Angel. Arch-Eden is an ultimate skill derived from the conceptual essence of primordial angels. It grants the user the ability to create a fully autonomous ego, one indistinguishable from a real human in terms of intelligence, emotions, and behavior. This ego will act as an extension of the user's will while maintaining complete independence when necessary. Furthermore, this skill allows the user to override and merge with any existing skill, regardless of its classification, be it God class, Ultimate class, only second to true class skills, granting almost unparalleled mastery over all forms of abilities. Rimuru froze for a moment, processing the explanation. Wait, you're saying I can create an ego, like, a complete human-like version of myself, and it can function on its own. Precisely, Master. The ego will not only resemble you but will also possess your knowledge, wisdom, and personality. However, it can also develop its own unique identity if you allow it. Rimuru furrowed his brows. That's, honestly terrifying. And you're saying this skill can also merge with any skill, no matter how strong. Even God class ones. Correct, Master. The power of this skill knows no bounds. It is designed to be the apex of all abilities, combining the essence of creation, autonomy, and mastery. Rimuru leaned back, rubbing his temples. Ciel really doesn't hold back, does she? This sounds both incredible and dangerous. I don't even know where to begin testing something like this. Lady Ciel anticipated your concern, Master. The skill has been designed with safeguards to ensure no accidental misuses occur during initial activation. You can test its EGO creation feature in a controlled environment. Still amazed by the potential of the skill, Rimuru took a deep breath. Okay, that's one insane creation. So, what's the second one? As Rimuru continued listening to Informer's updates, the skill spoke again. It is not a skill nor an object, Master. It is an individual created by Lady Ciel. Rimuru blinked in surprise. An individual? You mean, like a person? Correct. However, the individual currently lacks an ego. Lady Ciel is expecting you to use the new skill to create one for it. Rimuru sighed, leaning back in his chair. She expects me to do something like that. Talk about throwing responsibility my way. Yes, Master. He shook his head with a wry smile. All right then. Is there anything else you can tell me? Like when Ciel will be back? No, Master. I do not have the authority to access that information. My apologies. Rimuru waved his hand dismissively. No need to apologize. You're doing your job well. We'll test that skill and check out this new individual later, okay? Of course, Master. As the mental link quieted, Rimuru stared at the ceiling, his thoughts racing. Well, that was unexpected. A new overpowered skill and now a subordinate created by Ciel. What is her full project really about? She never does things without a grand plan. Rimuru exhaled deeply, shaking his head. Guess I'll have to wait and see. Knowing Seal, it's bound to be something world-shattering. He leaned back, closing his eyes briefly as he tried to relax. But the mysteries surrounding Ciel's creations lingered in his mind, leaving him both curious and wary of what awaited him in the near future. As Shizu called out, Rimuru lifted his head from the stack of paperwork. Rimuru-san, Shizu began with a warm smile. We're heading out for a bit. Rimuru glanced at her, then at Rain, Myorn, and Kagami, who were already standing by the door. Why so sudden? Shizu's smile didn't falter as she walked over to Belzard, gently grabbing her hand. We'd like to have a little chat with Belzard-chan. Before Belzard could even react, Shizu began leading her away. Rain, Kagami, and Myorn followed behind, subtly exchanging mischievous glances. Rimuru raised an eyebrow but decided not to press further. All right, see you later then. The group nodded and disappeared through the door, leaving Rimuru with Irina, Kumara, and Misery in the room. As the door clicked shut, Irina tugged on Rimuru's sleeve. Big brother, she said with a playful smirk, I think big sisters are up to something suspicious. You should prepare yourself to survive whatever's coming. Rimuru let out a small chuckle, reaching out to ruffle Irina's and Kumara's hair. Thanks, you too. I'll keep that in mind. The two sisters giggled and resumed playing with his hair while Rimuru leaned back, sighing in contentment. After a couple of minutes of quiet, Rimuru glanced toward Misery, who stood silently near the corner of the room. Hey, Misery. Misery snapped to attention, her eyes meeting Rimuru's. Yes, Rimuru-sama. Rimuru leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. What do you think about working for me directly? Like Rain. You'd have your freedom, but you could still serve Belzard however you want. Misery's expression didn't change much, but her eyes betrayed her surprise. I would love to, but my duty has always been to assist Belzard-sama. Rimuru smiled. And you can still do that. I'm just giving you more freedom to decide how you'd like to assist her. What do you think? Misery hesitated for a moment before nodding. If that's the case, I accept. But, may I remain Belzard-sama's personal maid? Absolutely, Rimuru replied with a grin. Misery knelt gracefully. Then, Rimuru-sama, I humbly accept your offer. Suddenly, black magical particles surged from Rimuru toward Misery, enveloping her completely. The particles shifted from black to pure green, creating a radiant aura that wrapped around her. When the light and smoke cleared, Misery stood in a completely new form. Her attire had transformed into a refined black and white maid outfit, exuding elegance and authority. Her hair had grown smoothly past her back, and her crimson eyes glowed faintly. Misery bowed deeply. Thank you, Master. From now on, I am wholly yours and will obey any order without fail. Rimuru smiled warmly. Good. But remember, you're free to be yourself. Be selfish if you want. You don't have to be stiff all the time. Misery looked up in surprise. Is that truly all, Master? Rimuru nodded. Yup. You're strong, capable, and now you have freedom. Just one rule. Misery tilted her head slightly. What rule would that be? Don't harm or fight anyone in Tempest, Rimuru said casually. Instead, try to be friendly with them. Misery's eyes widened, stunned by the simplicity of the condition. That's it. No other rules, Master. Nope, that's all, Rimuru said with a light-hearted grin. For a moment, Misery simply stared at him, her composed demeanor briefly faltering as she processed his words. I see, she finally said. I will abide by that rule, Master. Great, Rimuru said, leaning back. Now relax. You've earned it. Misery couldn't help but feel a twinge of admiration for the demon lord she now served, even as she worked to understand the unexpected kindness and trust he extended to her. Meanwhile, the group gathered in Rimuru's private residence, a cozy and luxurious space filled with warmth and charm. Shuna had prepared tea and snacks for everyone, and they all sat in a circle around Belzard, who was fidgeting nervously. Belzard glanced around, her icy composure slightly cracking under the weight of their stares. Why have you brought me here? She asked hesitantly, her voice trembling slightly. Shizu leaned forward with a soft smile. Belzard-chan, there's something we wanted to ask you. Belzard's instinct screamed danger. What is it? Shizu didn't hesitate. Are you in love with Rimuru-san? Belzard froze. Her face flushed a deep crimson as her ice-cold demeanor melted into utter panic. What? No. No, you've got it all wrong. Two don't have feelings for him. Rain smirked, her crimson eyes gleaming with mischief. Belzard-sama, there's no need to hide it. We can tell. Belzard's blush deepened, and she started shaking her head rapidly. It's not like that. I just respect him a lot. That's all. Kagali crossed her arms with a knowing smile. Respect, huh? Then why do you blush every time he looks at you? Shuna joined in, her voice soft but teasing. And why did your expression darken at Walpurgis when Rimuru-sama mentioned us being his fiancés and wife? Belzard's eyes widened in shock. She stammered, that wasn't because of him. I mean. Myorn chuckled, leaning in closer. You don't have to be embarrassed, Belzard-sama. We're not mad. In fact, we're here to help you. Belzard stared at them in disbelief. Help me. You're not angry. The girls all spoke at once, their voices overlapping. Of course not. Shion grinned mischievously. But since you're here, let's have a little chat about Rimuru-sama. Rain smirked, sipping her tea. You know, Belzard-sama, Rimuru and I spent an entire evening together under the stars. He held my hand, and we talked about his dreams. It was magical. Belzard's face turned even redder, and she fidgeted uncomfortably. Tea that sounds nice, she muttered, trying not to sound jealous. Kagali smirked, adding, oh, but you should have seen how he held me when I tripped during training. His touch was so gentle, and he even called me beautiful. Belzard's eyes twitched, and her hands clenched into fists on her lap. 2C. Myorn giggled. Oh, that's nothing. When we were traveling, Rimuru-sama let me rest my head on his lap. He even stroked my hair until I fell asleep. It was so relaxing. Belzard's lips trembled, her jealousy becoming more apparent. That must have been comforting. Shizu smiled softly, her tone kind but laced with mischief. And then there's me. Rimuru-san and I have spent countless nights together, just talking. He even said I'm the one who understands him best. Belzard's patience was wearing thin, and she finally snapped. Enough. To get it. You're all very close to him. What's your point? The girls burst into laughter, their teasing finally breaking Belzard's icy exterior. Shuna leaned forward, her voice gentle. Our point is, Belzard-sama, that you should be honest with yourself. You care for Rimuru-sama, don't you? Belzard looked away, her cheeks still burning. I don't know. He's different. He treats me like I'm more than just a true dragon. And that makes me happy. Rain smiled warmly. Then you should tell him how you feel. You deserve happiness too, Belzard-sama. Shizu placed a hand on Belzard's shoulder. We're not here to compete or fight with you. Rimuru-san has a big heart, and there's always room for more love. Belzard blinked, tears threatening to well up in her eyes. You really mean that? The girls all nodded. Kagali smirked. Of course. But don't think we'll make it easy for you. Belzard couldn't help but smile, her embarrassment slowly fading. Thank you. I'll think about it. The girls grinned, satisfied with their work. They had successfully planted the seeds of confidence in Belzard's heart. Belzard sat frozen, her cheeks burning bright red, surrounded by Shizu, Rain, Shion, Shuna, Kagali, Myorn, Tis, Gabwa, and Goblina. The room buzzed with energy as the girls excitedly discussed what they called the plan. Shizu, as composed as ever, spoke up. All right, ladies, we're all here to help Belzard-chan finally confess her feelings to Rimuru-san. Belzard immediately waved her hands in protest. Wait. I never agreed to this. Isn't this too sudden? Rain smirked mischievously. Too sudden. Belzard-sama, you've already spent weeks blushing every time Rimuru looks at you. If we wait any longer, you might freeze Tempest with your nervousness. Belzard's mouth opened and closed, unable to form a coherent argument. But. Myorn leaned closer, her teal hair swaying. Oh, come on, Belzard-sama. Don't you want to tell him how you feel? It's obvious you care about him. Kagali nodded in agreement. Rimuru-sama is incredibly kind and understanding. If you're honest with him, he'll definitely listen to you. Besides, you're the second true dragon. You're not someone who runs away from challenges, right? Belzard covered her face with her hands, groaning in embarrassment. This isn't a battle. I've never loved someone before. I don't even know how to say it. Shion, always brimming with confidence, grinned. Don't worry, Belzard-sama. That's why we're here. We'll guide you through it. All you have to do is follow the plan. Belzard peeked through her fingers, her voice barely above a whisper. A plan. What plan? Shizu cleared her throat, signaling everyone to focus. All right, let's figure out how we're going to make this happen. We need a location, a way to get Belzard-chan there, and a reason to bring Rimuru-san. Gabwa raised his hand enthusiastically. How about we use the training grounds? It's quiet there in the evenings. Goblina shook her head. No, no. The training grounds are too stiff and formal. Confessions should be romantic. Shuna chimed in, her voice soft but firm. I think the hilltop just outside Tempest would be perfect. It has a beautiful view of the stars, and it's a peaceful place where they can talk without interruptions. Tis nodded thoughtfully. That does sound like a good idea. Rimuru-sama loves stargazing, so he'd feel comfortable there. Rain smirked. Alright, the hilltop it is. Now, who's going to bring Belzard-sama there? Shizu raised her hand. I'll do it. Belzard-chan trusts me, so she'll come along without too much fuss. Belzard glanced at Shizu nervously. I guess that's fine. But, what about Rimuru? Myorn grinned. Leave that to me and Rain. We'll convince him to head to the hilltop. He won't suspect a thing. Shion clapped her hands together. Perfect. While they're at the hilltop, the rest of us can make sure no one interrupts them. Belzard squirmed in her seat, her icy composure shattered. I don't think I can do this. What if he laughs at me? Or rejects me? Shuna placed a comforting hand on Belzard's shoulder. Belzard-sama, Rimuru-sama isn't the type to laugh at someone's feelings. He's kind and compassionate. You have nothing to fear. Kaguli nodded. Exactly. Besides, we'll all be here to support you. You're not alone in this. Goblina added, and don't forget, you're Belzard, the White Ice Dragon. If you can face centuries of battles, you can definitely handle this. Belzard sighed, her nerves still frayed. It's not the same. This is different. I've never felt this way before, and it's terrifying. Shizu smiled gently. That's how you know it's real, Belzard-chan. Love is scary, but it's also beautiful. And Rimuru-san deserves to know how you feel. Shizu took charge, laying out the steps of their plan. Here's how it's going to work. 1. I'll bring Belzard-chan to the hilltop. We'll make sure she's calm and ready. 2. Rain and Myorn will convince Rimuru-san to go to the hilltop, but they won't tell him why. 3. Once Rimuru-san arrives, Belzard-chan will confess her feelings. Rain smirked. And if Rimuru-sama gets suspicious, Myorn and I will play innocent. We'll make sure he doesn't figure out what's happening until the moment he meets Belzard-sama. Shion grinned. While all that's happening, the rest of us will make sure no one interrupts. Gabwa, Goblina, Tis, and I will patrol the area to keep it clear. Shuna added, and I'll prepare a little picnic setup at the hilltop. It'll make the atmosphere more romantic. Belzard's face was bright red as she listened. This is all so much, are you sure this will work? Shizu placed a hand on Belzard's shoulder. It will, Belzard-chan. Just trust us. And trust yourself. Rain leaned in closer, her voice playful. Besides, if you don't confess, you might lose your chance. Rimuru-sama is surrounded by so many people who love him. If you don't tell him how you feel, someone else might. Belzard's eyes widened in realization. I don't want that. Shuna smiled warmly. Then be brave, Belzard-sama. You've already taken the first step by admitting your feelings to us. Kaguli crossed her arms, her tone firm. And remember, we're not your rivals. We're your friends. We want you to be happy, too. Belzard looked around at the group, her icy blue eyes shimmering with gratitude. Thank you, all of you. I'll do my best. Shizu, escort Belzard to the hilltop and provide moral support. Rain and Myorn, convince Rimuru to head to the hilltop without revealing the reason. Shuna, set up a romantic atmosphere at the hilltop with a picnic. Shion, Gabwa, Goblina, and Tis, patrol the area to ensure no interruptions. The group nodded in agreement, their excitement palpable. As the group began to disperse to prepare for the plan, Belzard called out softly, Shizu-chan. Shizu turned back, her expression kind. Yes, Belzard-chan. Belzard hesitated, then smiled shyly. Thank you, for everything. I don't know what I'd do without all of you. Shizu smiled warmly. That's what friends are for, Belzard-chan. Now, let's make tonight unforgettable. With the plan in motion, Belzard couldn't help but feel a mix of terror and excitement. Tonight, she would finally take the leap and confess her feelings to Rimuru.